Hello YouTube, I'm coming to you today after a little bit with a different deck profile this time. I've got Paleozoic Tearlament for you. I took this to the Hartford Regional over the past weekend and I got 21st place, earning my invite to Nationals with it. So it did pretty well. So I'll get right into the deck list and explain some choices and how I did at the tournament and the matchups and all that. So starting out, two copies of Rhinoheart. Um, like one is not enough, and it's a good starter, so you want to see it. But three's a bit too many because it's the worst one to mill. And the point of this deck is that you want every mill to be optimal. So two is good enough. And then for the other tiers, obviously three Merly, three Havness, three Sharon. I don't really need to explain those. Everybody knows what tier cards do by now. Then we got one copy of Backjack. This card was pretty good. A lot of people didn't know what it did, so it caught a few people by surprise. It's just a really insane mill because anytime you mill it, you just can get a trap card for free, or you can mill a tier to the graveyard off of it too and trigger a tier effect, which is really cool. It just sucks to draw it, so that's why only one copy. But yeah, it's still worth playing. It gets sided out sometimes, but it's still a good card. And then the last monster, I main decked one Druisworm because I wanted to be able to go dark and take my opponent's Magnamit and search this. It didn't actually come up. There was one game it could have come up, but didn't need it. So, but this card actually did save me very, very much in my last round, in round 8. So it was very important that that was in the deck. That's it for monsters. For spells, Instant Fusion needs to be banned. No explanations. We got Scream and Heartbeat for the tier spells. Scream was really good today. Scream actually won me a couple of games. Just being able to mill 3 and then lower the monsters by 500 actually came up a lot. And then Heartbeat is just an out to problematic like spells and traps in the format like Necro Valley and other floodgates. So that's why those are there. And then onto the traps. That's the bread and butter of the deck here. 3 Needlebug Nest. This card says mill 5. You want to mill as many cards as possible with this deck. So milling 5 is broken. We got 3 Morella. This sends the Sulliek to the graveyard to search a tier monster, or you can send really any of your other traps. Like you can send Breakthrough Skill, Lost Wind, Rise to Full Height. So the best Paleozoic card. Then we got Dinomischus. This is the best form of removal for the deck. It's one of the only traps that's decent going second. Then you can trigger tiers with it, which is really good. So 3 Dino, and then 3 Canadia. I'm probably going to wind up cutting this down because it usually gets sided out. At least 1 or 2 copies get sided out. But it's just in there so I had enough paleo names to where I would consistently mill enough of them. Because I found in games where I was siding these out, I wasn't milling as many paleos as I would like to mill. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that. It's probably just the way it's going to have to be because you'd rather have going second cards as opposed to these. But these are still good going first, and so I figure that's why it's still good enough to play 3 of it. And that's it for the paleo traps. Next, we got 3 Sulliek. This is just the best card because it's a trap which triggers the paleos when you activate it, and then it's an insane mill because you're milling a bunch of cards with this deck, and so every mill is just like going to be good when you hit this. So and then of course Morella sending it, and then Ficalis searching it, so cards are really good. 3 Lost Wind. Again, like the point of this deck is that you will mill as many cards as possible. You want everything in the graveyard to do something, and Lost Wind just gives you 2 uses out of it. So Lost Wind's really good. Permanently negates as well, which comes up a lot and has the attack. Next, 3 Breakthrough. Again, same reasoning by how Lost Wind. This card just outs a lot of problematic stuff. Abyss Dweller on your own turn. Like there's a lot of effects that are happening on your turn now, so this actually comes up a lot more. So milling this is really strong. And then last cards, 3 Rise to the Light. This card says my opponent can't attack. So, I mean, it's insane to mill it. I didn't mill this card as much as I would have liked to, even though I play 3 of it. I mean, sometimes it gets sided, a couple of it gets sided out because it's really hard to side stuff out with this deck, and this is not a card you want to draw. So that's the last card, but this card did save me a few games for sure. Just being able to ensure that the paleo monsters can't be attacked because their biggest weakness is being destroyed by battle. So if you can make sure that two of these live on the board, then you can make Obabinya and then combo off more from there. So rises are there, and that's it for the main deck. For the extra deck, starting with the Obabinya. Again, this card says search a paleo card, so you can search Deinonychus to out things, and you can activate them from your hand while you have a trap as material on it. So you can search Deinonychus, instantly activate it, banish something, chain another paleo in graveyard to summon another paleo. Then you can make Sprint from those, and then send Merly. And this being an Exceed monster also comes up to make Zeus sometimes, summoning it in attack mode, attacking into a defense position monster, and then making Zeus comes up sometimes. Didn't come up at the regional for me, but it's definitely come up in other games at locals I played with the deck. And also searching Morella to activate Morella immediately to send Sully to search Reinhardt is really good too. So that's it for Obinia. Toad, it doesn't come up as much as Obinia, but it's still good. I summoned it once at the regional, and it did put in work for that game, so it's still worth playing. Then you got Abyss Dweller. This card is insane in this format. Everybody knows by now how good it is. Honestly, might be ban worthy. Honestly, I hope it doesn't get banned because I got a nice ulti. But either way, this card's really powerful and just stops the format. And this card single-handedly won me my round 8 match, basically. So, and then Zeus for the last Exceed, because Zeus clearing board is really good. Onto links, we've got Sprind, Elf, Dark. These are like the standard ones that every like tier list plays. I mean, like Sprind sends Merly to grave, Elf summons Merly back, and then Dark, of course, taking a Kikalos or a Merly or a Magnamit is really good. So don't really need to explain those too much. And then we got IP, Underworld Goddess. Neither of these came up for me at the regional, but they have come up before, so I figured they're still worth playing. And being able to have IP to go into Sprint to send Merly on the opponent's turn is a cool option to have. Again, didn't come up, but it's there in theory. I might wind up cutting these for something else, although I'm not really sure what would come up more than this. Like, I guess if I change the list to add more Bastiles in, maybe I could put in like Beatrice or Wallow or something, but I don't know. And then for the fusions, we got the 1 Kikalos, 1 Kaleido, 1 Rukolos, standard tier fusions, and then Muddragon, Garua, Dragostapelia. I was thinking about cutting Muddragon, honestly, because it just wasn't coming up for me, like, hardly ever. But since I added the Druisworm into the main deck and a couple more Bastiles into the side deck, like, there were a couple games that actually came up today, or this past weekend, I mean. And again, round 8, being able to go into this to make Dweller was what saved me that match, or one of the reasons I was able to win that match. So probably keeping it in. And then, of course, these two don't really need to explain. This card against Floowandereeze, round 4, just single-handedly won me the game. So you have to play them. That's it for the extra deck. On the side deck, 3 Lava Golem. This card says outboard's going second, deals with the tiers, doesn't trigger them, so pretty good. 3 Ghost Sister. I actually surprisingly never went to time at the regional, which is really rare for me considering I played this deck at YCS Pasadena. Not this exact version. I've made a few changes to it since then. But I went to time every single round at that event. And we had 5 extra minutes in the rounds. It was 45-minute rounds at YCS Pasadena. It was only 40-minute rounds at the regional. But none of my games went to time at this event, which is surprising to me. So this didn't actually come up. Didn't come in any of my games. But they were there in theory because that's how you win in time, going second. Then we got 3 Judgments, just for going first and saying no to Evenly and Lightning Storm, which I lost a couple games to. But Judgment did win me 1 game because against Floowandereeze, round 1, he shifted and Evenly, and I had 3 back rows, and I decided to not Judgment the Evenly and just let Evenly resolve and keep Judgment thinking that if I stop his one normal summon, hopefully he has nothing else, and that's exactly what happened. He had just one Rabina. I summoned it, and he had nothing, and so I had instant fusion on in my hand for the next turn, and I killed him. So definitely definitely did win me that game. But then next we got 3 Imperm. It's probably the most like generic best card in the side deck. I probably should be main decking this in all honesty, just because it does get sided in pretty much every single game. Almost it gets sided in. So yeah, this card's really good. Being a trap, just being able to activate and trigger Paleos is really good. And then of course, you know, negating Kikalos, negating Floowandereeze effects, like negating everything else in the format. So Imperm. And then the last cards in the side deck, I played 1 Magnamit and 1 Sarnier. This probably should have been a second Druisworm, but I figured I'd rather, in case I happen to draw like all the names, I'd rather not draw 2 of the same one. Which actually, like, it actually did happen one game where I drew into like I drew all the Bystials in one of the games, and so I couldn't resolve Magnamit to search, which was unfortunate because I had to like I used a Bystial and I had to like banish it to summon the Magnamit because I was like in a really bad position. I had nothing else to do with that game. But that was like the only game I even drew either of these cards. So, you know, I probably would want to find space for more, like potentially in the main deck because these cards are so good right now. But they are also a liability against any other matchup, which I only played 3 tier matches. And so they're not as good against every other matchup. So don't know what I'll do there. And the last card in the side deck was just a Lightning Storm. I wanted to put more of these in, but I was just kind of hesitant about what to cut because I needed an answer for Floowandereeze. And this is just one of the better ones. Like I thought about trying to find space for more copies of this or evenly or like some other card that's good against that deck because there's really not a lot of good cards in the side deck like for that matchup. And there are 3 Lost Winds in the main deck, which are completely dead, plus the Druisworm as well. So you want to have cards to like take out in that matchup. So I don't know about this going forward. Probably want to find room for at least a second one of it, but I'm not really sure what's getting cut. So we'll see. But that's the side deck. That's it for the deck. For the matchups of the tournament. I started out losing my first 2 rounds of the tournament. I lost round 1 to Floowandereeze because he opened Shifter every game. I won game 2 of that match because of the Solemn Judgment, but still wasn't enough. And then round 2 was against a tier player. I got 2-0'd. Like he won the roll, opened crazy going first, set up his big board, couldn't do anything. And then game 2, he opened a Lightning Storm on my 4 back row, and I just lost from there because I didn't have enough chainables and enough like things respond. Didn't open Needlebug Nest or anything crazy. So I just got destroyed that match. But then from there, everything went pretty well. My round 3 was against another tier player. I 2-0'd him because he made me go first for game 2 for some reason. So that was the deck worked as intended in that match finally after not working the first 2 rounds. And then round 4 was against Floowandereeze. My opponent misplayed really badly that match. He basically gave me the game by misplaying as badly as he did because he had DD Crow and didn't use it on my Merly, and that basically allowed me to come back and win. Round 5, my opponent did not show up, so that was a bye. Won that. Round 6, I played against Sky Striker, and I 2-0'd it because the funny thing was I saw this same player the previous round, so I knew what he was playing because I sat next to him from before. So I made him go first when I won the roll, and that gave me a big advantage. Yeah, that was a relatively easy match. And then round 7, I played against Spright, 2-0'd it. My opponent drew a really unfortunate hand game 2, but sometimes that's how it is. And then round 8, the last round, was against Ishizu Tier, and I won 2-1. That was a really good match, really close, really interactive match. Game 1, like he had a much better opening than I did. I just didn't really have much in terms of engine. I had a few like responses for some of his things, but just not enough to stop him. And then game 2, Game two I was able to set up pretty well. Had a lot more engine going. I was able to establish the Abyss Dweller and shut him out. And then game three was really clutch because I let him resolve 2 fusion effects with keeping Jerusalem in hand because he's activated Merly and Hobness, and I didn't want to really negate one of them and just let one resolve. I figured it wouldn't really do as much as I'd want it to, so I kept the Jerusalem, figuring if he activates the 3rd effect, I can Jerusalem then, or if he tries to do something with the Medora shuffle back to trigger the planet to pop, I can chain Jerusalem, and that's exactly what happened. Is he tried to, on my turn, use the Medora to shuffle back his Sharon to use planet to pop, and then that's when I chained the Jerusalem, and that put me so far ahead in that position. I was able to take the game. And overall, got 21st place. Went 6-2, and it was a fun event. And I hope you guys enjoy the deck profile. And that's about it. Thank you.